I left Eleanor Vance without a word when she was at her poorest. Years later, after she became successful, she had people find me and force me to marry her. Everyone says she loves me, that I'm the one she holds closest to her heart. But just days after the wedding, she started getting intimate with all sorts of men, even bringing them home at night. It pierced my heart and turned me into the laughing stock of our social circle. I didn't say a word about it. I just silently moved into the guest room. But that only seemed to infuriate her. Eyes red, she'd kiss me hard and demand angrily, "Don't you feel anything at all?" Every moment she spent provoking me. All I could think about was how many days I had left. She didn't know I was terminally ill, that every living second was filled with pain. Less than 3 months into my marriage with Eleanor Vance, friends had already sent me pictures of her getting cozy with more than 10 different men. Oliver Hayes has been around Ms. Vance for a whole month now, longer than any of the others. You don't think Eleanor Vance is actually catching feelings for him, do you? I stared silently at the photo my friend sent. It showed the two of them leaving a hotel, an unmistakable intimacy in the way they looked at each other. Looks like they spent the night together. You need to do something before it's too late. My finger hovered over the screen, but in the end, I just turned off my iPhone. Yesterday was my birthday, but I woke up aching all over, my nose bleeding uncontrollably. I went to City General Hospital for a full checkup, and the doctor told me I probably wouldn't live to see next summer. It only took a few seconds for me to accept it. I'm not afraid of dying, just the pain I can't bear. The doctors said there was medication that could lessen the pain. The only problem was the price. I couldn't afford it. My only option was to go to Eleanor Vance. When I arrived at the Vance group, the person who greeted me was Oliver Hayes. Oliver Hayes had a clean-cut, almost boyish look, exactly Eleanor Vance's type. He was a senior at Stanford, just a young college kid who'd started as Eleanor Vance's secretary a month ago. "Ms. Vance is still in a meeting. Just stand here and wait," Oliver Hayes said, tilting his head back to look down his nose at me. I ignored him and sat down in a chair to wait. Oliver Hayes scoffed, annoyed, and walked over to a colleague, whispering, "How is the boss's husband so ugly? His face is ghost white, like he's about to drop dead. He doesn't match Ms. Vance at all." The colleague, startled, quickly tugged his sleeve. "He probably just hasn't rested well. Actually, you kind of look like him, but when he's well, he's much more handsome than you. Ms. Vance really loves him. I'd advise you to tone down your attitude and don't provoke him, or Ms. Vance won't let you off easy." Oliver Hayes curled his lip dismissively. "How do I look anything like him? I'm obviously way better looking than that ugly guy. You must be blind." Even though they kept their voices low, the office was quiet, and I heard every word clearly. I was bundled in a bulky coat, my face pale and gaunt from the pain. Ugly indeed, and dying indeed. Oliver Hayes really didn't like people saying Eleanor Vance loved me more. "Ethan, have some water," Oliver Hayes said, changing his tune. "Ms. Vance is just really busy with work. That's why she's keeping you waiting so long. Please don't worry. It's just that usually when I come looking for Ms. Vance, she drops whatever she's doing to see me, no matter how busy she is. I thought she was like that with everyone, but I guess not." Though Oliver feigned hesitation, a smug smile played on his lips. His words clearly meant to show how important he was to Eleanor Vance. Seeing the dimples that appeared when he smiled gave me a jolt. He really did look like me. Actually, there was some truth to what Oliver Hayes said. Eleanor Vance did treat him differently than the other men. Over the past 3 months, Eleanor had a constant stream of lovers, sometimes even bringing them home overnight, making sure I saw them. But I knew they were just pawns she used to provoke me. Oliver Hayes, however, was different. Eleanor's flings with the other men lasted 5 days at most, some not even half a day. Only Oliver Hayes had lasted a full month. She took him to the movies, amusement parks, out to dinner, shopping. She even bought him a mansion to live in. Eleanor Vance gave him money and affection. They were like any other loving young couple. I pressed my lips together, forcing down the wave of pain, and reached for the water glass. Smiling gently, I tilted my head and asked softly, "If she cares about you so much, why does she still let you be a gold digger?" Oliver Hayes' face flushed an ugly red. "If you hadn't gotten lucky and met Miss Vance before I did, why would she ever be with you? You're so ugly and worn out now. How can you possibly compare to me? Besides, haven't you heard? The one who isn't loved is the real gold digger. Ms. Vance loves me now, So you're the gold digger. The nerve of that statement. The smile didn't leave my lips. If anything, it grew gentler. If she loves you that much, she must listen to whatever you say, right? Oliver Hayes' mood brightened, his lips curving into a smile. Of course, whatever I ask for, Miss Vance buys me. In that case, I said, if you ask her to divorce me and marry you instead, she'd definitely agree. Oliver Hayes' smile froze. I paid him no mind, adding softly, you should go for it. I believe in you. His colleague must have sensed the shift in atmosphere and quickly tried to lead Oliver Hayes away. But I actually meant what I said. I decided long ago not to let Eleanor Vance get under my skin. She wasn't worth it. Not worth my sadness, my anger, or my jealousy. Oliver Hayes ignored his colleague, snatched the water glass from my hand, lost his balance, and stumbled to the ground. Hot water splashed all over him, and the glass shattered on the floor. He scrambled to apologize, bowing repeatedly. I'll pick it up right now, Ethan. Please don't be angry. He crouched down to pick up the shards, but gashed his palm deeply. Blood welled up immediately. Eleanor Vance, looking through the office window, immediately spotted the injured Oliver Hayes. She threw open the door and rushed to Oliver Hayes' side, grabbing his hand, her eyes filled with concern. Oliver Hayes looked down, his voice weak. I'm fine. It was my own fault. I was clumsy. Please don't blame anyone else. Eleanor Vance scanned the area, her gaze finally settling on me. Who gave you permission to hurt Oliver Hayes? I opened my mouth, but the explanation died on my lips when I met her icy glare. So what if I did? I heard myself say. Oliver Hayes looked startled for a second, then his voice took on an even more wounded tone. It's my fault for being a gold digger, for being the other man, for falling for someone I shouldn't have. Ethan has every right to be angry. I deserve it, but I really can't control my feelings. As long as you don't send me away, I'm willing to be your lover for the rest of my life. He looked tenderly at Eleanor Vance, confessing his deep affection. Miss Vance, I love you. Eleanor Vance chuckled softly and gently hugged him. I know. Don't be upset and don't take his words to heart. Oliver Hayes was truly different to Eleanor Vance, unlike anyone else. Remembering why I'd come, I pulled my gaze back and said coldly, I need $140,000. Eleanor Vance sneered, staring at me and gritting her teeth. Just as I thought. Asking for money again. You really are a gold digger. Although Eleanor Vance and I had been married for 3 months, we didn't even have each other's contact information. The few times I sought her out were always for money. It was clearly agreed upon from the start. If I agreed to marry her, she would give me money. Before, no matter the amount, she would give it to me. But this time, she looked at me with a smirk. I can give you the money, but first, you have to kneel and apologize to Oliver Hayes. I closed my eyes, my voice weak. Impossible. Eleanor Vance was willing to humiliate me just to stand up for Oliver Hayes. The pain spreading through my heart at that moment was so intense I couldn't even feel the physical ache in my body. Eleanor Vance scoffed. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? Just think, if you swallow your pride, that $140,000 could be yours. I let out a soft breath. No, thank you. Forcing back the pain, I turned and strode away. It was February now, the wind howling bone-chillingly cold, but my heart felt even colder. Eleanor Vance, if you knew later that this money could have let me live a little longer, a little more comfortably, would you regret your decision today? The short distance from the Vance Group building to my place took me an hour, trembling the whole way back home. I took my medicine and curled up under the covers. I took sleeping pills, just wanting to sleep deeply enough not to feel the pain. Soon, I drifted into a dream, back to a time when Eleanor Vance still loved me. I was 19 then, and Eleanor Vance hadn't started her business yet. She was far from being as wealthy as she was now. It was Valentine's Day, and Eleanor Vance and I were walking hand in hand in the light snow when we suddenly saw a couple coming out of a flower shop. The boy held a peony bouquet, strikingly vibrant against the white snow. I couldn't help but stare. Sigh, it's so beautiful. Eleanor Vance silently hugged me, hiding her reddened eyes from me, and didn't leave my side until dark. It wasn't until 3 days later, on my birthday, that she appeared below my dormitory, holding a peony bouquet. The bouquet cost a full $41. She had spent 3 whole days out in the freezing cold, handing out tens of thousands of flyers, just to earn $50. My heart ached looking at her face, pale and bloodless from the cold. I reached out and hugged her, my voice choked. Eleanor Vance, I'm not worth you sacrificing your health like this. Eleanor Vance kissed me, silencing my words. After a long moment, she pulled back. And you are worth it, Ethan. You deserve the best things in the world. She pushed the flowers into my arms, smiling. Ethan, you're more beautiful than the flowers. I couldn't stop my eyes from welling up, tears streaming down. Don't cry, don't cry. It's your birthday today. You can't be unhappy. I bought a red velvet cake too. Eleanor Vance picked up the red velvet cake she'd placed nearby, looking a bit embarrassed. I didn't have much money left after buying the flowers, so I could only get a 6-inch cake. But I won't eat any. It's all for you. I looked at the 6-inch cake and chuckled softly. It's enough for us to share. That day, amidst the blanketing snow, Eleanor Vance and I finished the red velvet cake, 1 spoonful each. I don't remember what the cake tasted like, only that it was incredibly sweet. I've never eaten a red velvet cake that delicious since, nor have I ever seen a sight more radiant than Eleanor Vance holding those flowers. Half asleep, I thought I heard Eleanor Vance calling my name. Cherishing the moment, my voice came out soft. Eleanor, I want a peony bouquet, and I want to eat red velvet cake. As the words left my lips, before I could hear Eleanor Vance's reply, I fell deeply asleep again. When I woke up, it was the middle of the night. Heavy snow was falling outside. Just then, the door opened, and Eleanor Vance walked in. She came to my bedside, frowning. Why do you look so pale? Are you feeling unwell? Perhaps it was the deep night or the warmth of the lamp. Her voice held a trace of concern, just like back when she still loved me. I was stunned for a moment. As I realized she was about to touch my face, I snapped back to reality and slapped her hand away. Don't touch me. Eleanor Vance looked at her reddened hand, her expression turning ugly. Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you? I didn't answer, to scoff back. Why are you back? She had bought Oliver Hayes a mansion where they stayed together this past month. She had spent many nights there and hadn't been back here in a long time. Oliver Hayes would be there, taking care of her daily needs, making her laugh. Eleanor Vance's face slowly darkened. She forcefully dragged me out of bed. What are you doing? Let go of me. My physical discomfort left me too weak to resist, and I stumbled as she pulled me into the living room. You said you wanted a peony bouquet and red velvet cake. I bought them for you as fast as I could, and this is the attitude I get. I followed her pointing finger. On the dining table set was a large red velvet cake with candles, and next to it, a bouquet of delicate peonies. So I really had spoken in my sleep. Eleanor Vance thrust the peony bouquet into my hands. Here, take the peony bouquet you wanted. I didn't get you a big red velvet cake back then, so I'm making up for it now. Can you just stop fighting with me? What was the meaning of Eleanor Vance's actions now? Did she hope we could go back to how we used to be? But I didn't need it anymore. I had a terminal illness. I was going to die soon. The peony bouquet and red velvet cake could only exist in my dreams. In reality, I didn't want them anymore, just like I didn't want Eleanor Vance anymore. I threw the peony bouquet into the nearby trash can, walked quickly to the table, and threw the red velvet cake in there too. Eleanor Vance froze for a few seconds. Then her face contorted with rage, veins bulging on her forehead. She slammed me against the wall, gritting her teeth as she asked in a low voice, Ethan, do you just have to oppose me? Ignoring the pain in my back, I forced a smile and said softly, So what if I do, Eleanor Vance? I am opposing you. Eleanor Vance, that was just something I mumbled when I was half conscious, and you immediately went and did it. Still as foolish as ever. I deliberately pushed her buttons, watching Eleanor Vance's face darken. Eleanor Vance must have lost it. She lunged at me, kissing me fiercely, biting and gnawing. She bit my lip hard enough to draw blood. Eleanor Vance pushed me down onto the nearby sofa and bit my neck. Pain shot through me, making my body tremble. I gasped sharply. I shoved at her, cursing, Eleanor Vance, get off me. Don't touch me. You disgust me. She ignored my struggles, burying her face in my shoulder and muttering, Ethan, you're the most repulsive person in the world. Why can't you just not fight me for once? Do you know all these years I've been waiting for you to give in, to comfort me? When I heard you say you wanted a peony bouquet and red velvet cake earlier, I was so happy I rushed out in my slippers. I didn't even notice the car coming down the street. I almost got killed. But then you call me stupid and threw my feelings back in my face. She lifted her head, staring intently at me, tears glistening in her eyes. Ethan, how can you be so cruel to me? Are you even human? My own eyes were red-rimmed as I stared back defiantly. Neither of us spoke, neither willing to look away first. Seconds ticked by, then Eleanor Vance moved. She slowly leaned closer and closer until her lips were almost touching mine. Just as I was about to resist, an iPhone rang. It was Eleanor Vance's phone. She froze, then after a few seconds, sat up and picked up the iPhone. The iPhone screen flashed briefly, but I still caught the caller ID. It was Oliver Hayes. Eleanor Vance hesitated for a moment before answering. The room was silent, so silent I could hear Oliver Hayes crying on the other end. Ms. Vance, did you go see Ethan? I made a whole dinner tonight and kept waiting for you, but the food's all cold now, and you still haven't come back. Ms. Vance, don't you want me anymore? Don't you like me anymore? Ms. Vance, it's snowing outside and it's so cold. My head feels dizzy too. I could hear the wind howling in the background on Oliver Hayes' end. Eleanor Vance asked in a low voice, "You're outside?" "Yeah. I couldn't wait for you anymore, and I was so sad. So I came out to a nightclub to drink. There are so many people in the nightclub. I noticed lots of women looking at me, and some even tried to hit on me, but I turned them all down. Hee hee, but I hate the way they look at me. I don't like it. I feel really scared. Ms. Vance, I want to go home. Can you come pick me up?" Eleanor Vance didn't answer Oliver Hayes. Instead, she stared intently at me. For some reason, I turned my head away, avoiding her gaze. Eleanor Vance gripped my chin, forcing my face back towards hers. "Ethan, do you want me to leave? Just ask me to stay. If you beg me, I'll stay here with you and won't go get Oliver Hayes." "Beg?" I scoffed, then shoved her away with all my strength, enunciating each word carefully. "Eleanor Vance, I will never beg you. Forget about it. If you're going to get Oliver Hayes, then get the hell out." Eleanor Vance let out an angry, self-mocking laugh. Fine. Well done, Ethan." Eleanor Vance glared at me, her face cold, but her voice was incredibly gentle as she spoke into the phone. "Oliver, send me the nightclub's location. I'll be there soon. I'm coming to take you home, our home." She raised an eyebrow at me, as if to say, "You might not want me, but plenty of others do." Without another glance at me, Eleanor Vance turned and slammed the door on her way out. The loud bang as the door hit the frame echoed the ache in my heart. My body wouldn't stop shaking. I raised a hand to cover my pale face. Eleanor Vance had probably forgotten how many times I'd begged her before. I'd swallowed my pride, pleaded with her to just talk to me patiently. "Eleanor Vance, can we not fight this time? Can we just talk properly? Can we try to make things work between us from now on, okay? Don't be so harsh with me. Could you try being a little gentler?" But that day, Eleanor Vance had looked at me coldly, shoved me to the ground, and said flatly, "Ethan, what right do you have to make demands of me?" Her words were etched into my mind, even today. I could clearly remember the helplessness I felt then. That was when I told myself never to beg her again, never. The pain made me reluctant to move, so I spent the next few days holed up at home. My meals were irregular. I skipped them when I had no appetite, and when I was hungry, I just grabbed whatever was easy to fill my stomach. But I didn't eat much. Even so, I eventually ran out of groceries. To avoid starving, I had no choice but to go out and buy food. But on my way back from grocery shopping, several reporters stopped me on Maple Street. One young man was particularly agitated, pushing past the others and shoving an iPhone towards my face. "Mr. Thompson, what are your thoughts on the situation with Ms. Vance and Oliver Hayes that's trending on Twitter?" Twitter trends? My days and nights were mixed up, and I'd been in a daze, completely unaware of what was happening outside, let alone any Twitter trends. I pulled out my iPhone and did a quick search to figure out what was going on. Apparently, Oliver Hayes had somehow offended some woman, and when Eleanor Vance arrived, she had fiercely defended him and subsequently bankrupted the woman's company. This was the first time Eleanor Vance had stood up for any man besides me. The incident immediately spread like wildfire within our social circles, and someone somehow spread it online. Eleanor Vance's company had grown from nothing into an industry leader over the past few years. As its head, she was a business miracle, not to mention beautiful, so she was already famous online and well known by many. As soon as news about her broke, it instantly captured the attention of countless netizens. Discussion surged, and it ended up trending on Twitter. My face remained blank as I started walking towards the mansion, unwilling to answer the reporter's questions. But the young man persisted, quickly stepping in front of me again. "Mr. Thompson, you haven't answered my question." "That's very impolite." I lowered my gaze to look at him. His eyes flickered away uncomfortably when they met mine, but he forced himself to ask again, "What are your thoughts on this matter?" I asked coldly, "What is there for me to think about?" "The affair between a cheating woman and her gold digger man." Hearing my words, the young man suddenly grew excited, as if he'd found a scoop. "Mr. Thompson, I heard you and Eleanor Vance broke up years ago." "No. Actually, the word is you dumped her, and it was because of money. Then, after Eleanor Vance made it big with her startup, you used your past relationship to get back with her for her money, even resorting to shady tactics to force her into marrying you. Eleanor Vance is with someone else now, which proves she's found real love. The photos show they look great together, a perfect match. But you're still clinging to your position as Eleanor Vance's husband, turning Oliver Hayes into a gold digger. Don't you think you've gone too far?" I wanted to hear what he had to say, but I never expected such outrageous accusations. I didn't even have the energy for another sneer. I reached out and grabbed the ID badge hanging from his chest. One look at it, and everything became clear. The young man was an intern reporter. The back of his press pass also showed a university student ID. It was the same university Oliver Hayes attended. "You know Oliver Hayes, don't you?" Panic flickered across the young man's face as he hastily snatched the press pass back from my hand. "So what if I know Oliver Hayes?" he retorted. "I'm a reporter. Everything I said is part of my job, with no personal agenda." "No personal agenda, huh? Who would believe that? Since you've heard so much," I countered. "Haven't you heard the rumors going around in our circles?" The young man looked lost. "What rumors?" "Everyone in our circle knows Eleanor Vance used every trick in the book to force me into marrying her back in the day. Why else do you think she hasn't divorced me, even now that she supposedly has this true love you're talking about? You call yourself a reporter, yet you haven't even heard something everyone knows? Is that your idea of professionalism?" My words made the young reporter's face flush. He opened his mouth to argue, but just stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. I pressed on. "As for you accusing me of being rude earlier, I have no obligation to answer your questions. Don't try to guilt-trip me now. Please get out of my way. You're blocking me from going home." The reporters ignored me, demanding angrily, "Mr. Thompson, what's that supposed to mean? Aren't reporters' questions important? Are you looking down on us?" I hadn't expected their train of thought to be so unique. Taking a deep breath to quell my rising irritation, I opened my mouth to explain, but before I could get a word out, I heard several of them gasp. "We hardly said anything. How could you get so worked up that your nose started bleeding? Are you that fragile?" I expertly pulled out a tissue and wiped away the blood. Because of my terminal illness, I'd lost count of how many nosebleeds I'd had over the last few days. The motions to stop it had become second nature. I met their somewhat panicked gazes, my voice steady. "I'm not angry with you, certainly not worked up enough for this. I just have a terminal illness. I'm dying. My body's failing, hence the nosebleed." The reporters were stunned, staring blankly at me. I took the opportunity to slip away. As I shut my front door, I heard the young intern's voice. "Terminal illness? I don't believe for a second he's terminally ill. He's just exploiting our sympathy to make a getaway. If you're really dying, then just hurry up and die already. Making such a big deal over a little nosebleed. Pathetic. What an embarrassment to men." I gave a faint chuckle and closed the door, shutting out the voices. Since I was dying anyway, there was no point in arguing with them. The outcome would eventually reveal the truth. I never expected the video of my interview with those reporters would hit Twitter trends. After it was posted, tons of commenters were tearing into me. "This guy's so full of it. He's got a wife like Ms. Vance, gorgeous and rich, and claims he was forced, like she needed to marry him." Exactly. A woman like Ms. Vance could have any man she wants. If I were married to Ms. Vance, I'd be stuck to her side 24/7, not acting like this pathetic jerk. He's disgusting. Wait, so he's implying Ms. Vance is madly in love with him? Yeah, he's that shameless. His twisted logic is hilarious. I'd sooner believe the reporter that he dumped Eleanor Vance for money and then used dirty tricks to marry her than believe she actually loves him. Dude looks terrible, though. Maybe he really is dying. Who cares if he dies? Says he didn't want it, but he went through with the marriage. Maybe he secretly wanted it all along and just put on a show. It was then that Eleanor Vance posted a message. She wrote, "Leave Ethan alone. I will never divorce him." Eleanor Vance's post slowed the flood of comments somewhat, but it didn't change much. People still despised me. Just did some digging. Looks like the reporters who interviewed Ethan are gone from their news outlet's official website. Think they got fired? Almost certainly. Bet Ms. Vance pulled some strings. Gotta admit, she's powerful. But why would she defend Ethan? Don't tell me she actually loves him. Maybe your husband has some dirt on Ms. Vance. Amidst the swirl of suspicion, a dissenting voice suddenly popped up. None of you understand anything. You don't know the first thing about it. Why are you all just wildly speculating? That comment immediately grabbed everyone's attention. Oh yeah, you know something we don't. Whoa, someone actually knows the inside story. Spill it, spill it. What's the truth? But after posting that one message, the person vanished, so people stopped wondering about the truth and went back to their previous arguments. But I found myself staring dazedly at that particular message, unable to look away. The real reason I left Eleanor Vance back then? It's actually pretty damn cliche. My life used to be completely ordinary. I studied hard for years, got into a good university, even had a girlfriend who loved me. I was just looking forward to graduating, getting a job, making money, and settling into a comfortable life. Just when I thought my quiet, happy life would go on forever, devastating news arrived. My mother, who had always been the picture of health, suddenly collapsed and was rushed to City General Hospital. When I rushed over in a panic, my mother was lying in the VIP ward, her face pale. The doctor said she had a terminal illness, something incredibly rare in medical history, with no known cure. And it was hereditary. Not only was there a high chance I would develop it later, but any children I might have would also risk inheriting it. My mom's illness came on aggressively. The woman who used to be so full of life became gaunt with pain in just a few days. Her nose wouldn't stop bleeding, and she even fainted from blood loss. I rushed around taking care of my mother, and in quiet moments, I'd just stare at her, lost in thought. I'd never imagined I could lose my mother so suddenly. When Mom woke up from fainting, she still managed to force a smile to comfort me. "Ethan, don't be sad. Mom's just going to another world to watch over you. Don't be silly. Everyone dies eventually. I'm just leaving a bit early, that's all." My mother suddenly sighed softly, her tone growing heavy. "Ethan, I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm terrified you'll inherit my illness. Mom wants you to live a long life, and if you got sick too, what would Eleanor Vance do?" Hearing Mom mention Eleanor Vance startled me. Eleanor's a good kid. You two care about each other a lot. Started dating back in high school, didn't you? You thought you were hiding your puppy love because you were afraid I'd find out, but you're my son, and it was so obvious. How could I not notice the change in you? Back then, you'd get that silly grin on your face, sometimes barely touch your breakfast before rushing off eagerly to school. I worried, so I'd secretly watch from the window, and sure enough, I'd see that Eleanor girl waiting for you on Maple Street with her bicycle. But that poor girl has had a hard life. When her parents divorced, neither of them wanted her. Even with parents alive, she lived like an orphan, getting just a tiny bit of money for living expenses each month. But she never hesitated to spend it on you. I sniffled, trying hard to push back the stinging feeling in my nose. Eleanor Vance was truly good to me. Anything other kids had, she'd try her best to get for me. Mom sighed deeply. More than once, I felt so happy that such a wonderful girl liked you. Watching you two go from high school through college, your bond still so strong. It put my heart at ease. She's smart, works hard, she's ambitious. To not go astray in such difficult circumstances is incredibly rare. It shows she has extraordinary strength of character. But being that good, it just shows how much hardship she's endured. As Mom said this, tears streamed down her face. It's my fault, all my fault. If I hadn't gotten sick, especially with something hereditary like this, you two could be so happy. I'd rather drop dead right now than have you inherit this disease. I cried out, "Mom, don't say things like that. You'll get better. The doctors will find a cure. They'll save you. You'll live." I held on to that hope deep inside. But in the end, it was just hope. The doctors never found a cure. Mom eventually died. Eleanor Vance had been raised by her grandmother, but her grandma got sick and was hospitalized around that same time. Because the Mayo Clinic cost money, she was completely overwhelmed, constantly working multiple part-time jobs to scrape the funds together, so she didn't notice anything was wrong with me. I couldn't bear to burden her, so I didn't tell her about my mom and the terminal illness. I planned to tell her after Grandma Vance got better, but I never expected that even after treatment at the Mayo Clinic, her grandmother's condition didn't improve. It continued to worsen, and not long after, she passed away. Eleanor Vance hugged me, burying her face in my neck, and said, "Ethan, you're all I have left." The words I was about to say caught in my throat, and I swallowed them back down. Eleanor Vance always acted strong, but I knew that deep down she was fragile too. She only had me left, and didn't I only have her? I knew how much she loved me. She had just lost her beloved grandmother. If she found out she might lose me too, later, when I eventually died, she definitely wouldn't be able to go on living. More than once, I cried silently in the dead of night, hating how unfair fate was, unable to understand why we had to suffer so much. Life had already been so hard for us. Why did it have to treat us like this? Without realizing it, 7 years have passed since all that happened. But thinking about it now still leaves an ache in my heart. I always knew I could die at any moment, and now that time is truly here. I should go visit my mom at the memorial park, tell her this is the last time I'll see her there. They'll be joining her soon. I hope when she sees me in heaven, she recognizes me right away, otherwise I'll be pretty upset. I bought the organic fruit basket Mom loved most, but before I go, there's something else I need to bring. So I headed to the Vance Group building to get something from Eleanor Vance. My mom adored Eleanor Vance, treated her completely like her own daughter. This was back before Mom was diagnosed, when Eleanor Vance and I were happy together. We were seniors at Stanford then, already planning to get married after graduation. Mom went with an old friend to pray in a chapel and got 2 crucifix pendants blessed. Each crucifix pendant had one of our birth dates engraved on it. Mine on one, Eleanor Vance's on the other. She hoped the crucifix pendants would bless us with peace, safety, lifelong love, and eternal happiness together. Mom told me to give Eleanor Vance the one with her birthday, but she didn't want her own. She insisted, almost pestering me, that she wanted to wear the one with my birthday. Eleanor Vance looked at me, smiling softly, and said, "Ethan, let me keep your crucifix pendant. I'll treasure it, just like I love and treasure you. I'll protect you and won't let anyone hurt you." She also said, "When I see the crucifix pendant, I'll think of you. It'll be like seeing you myself. That makes me incredibly happy, Ethan. I love seeing you. It makes my whole day." Hearing her words made me feel overjoyed, as sweet as cotton candy, and I happily swapped crucifix pendants with her. But now Eleanor Vance doesn't wear the crucifix pendant anymore. She just leaves it lying around carelessly in her office. I'm afraid that after I die, she'll just throw the crucifix pendant away like trash. It was a gift from my mother. I don't want that to be its fate. I have to get the crucifix pendant back. I want to wear it when I go to heaven to see Mom. While I got to the office, Eleanor Vance was staring intently at her iPhone, brow furrowed, so focused she didn't notice me come in. Her iPhone was playing the video of me being interviewed by those reporters. In the video, I had a nosebleed and was saying I had a terminal illness, that I was dying soon. She saw the shadow fall across her iPhone screen and finally realized someone was there. Seeing it was me, she calmly turned off the screen and just looked at me without a word, not asking anything about the video. I didn't care. I got straight to the point. "Give me the crucifix pendant my mom got for me." "Lost it." My brow furrowed. I couldn't believe it. "Lost it? Eleanor Vance, you actually lost the crucifix pendant my mom got for me." My eyes reddened with anger as I stared furiously at Eleanor Vance. Oliver Hayes rushed in from outside the office, stepping in front of Eleanor Vance. "Ethan, calm down. Let's talk about this calmly. Don't get worked up." I nodded, took a deep breath, clenched my fists, trying to calm myself, and then said, "My crucifix pendant. I want my crucifix pendant." "Crucifix pendant?" Oliver Hayes paused, acting like he just realized. "You mean the kind you get blessed at a chapel? Oh, so that was yours?" I saw it and really liked it, so I pestered Ms. Vance until she gave it to me. She said the crucifix pendant brings peace and would protect me. It's quite a coincidence, actually. It even had my birthday on it. Ms. Vance said it was fate. What do you think, Ethan? I saw the fleeting smirk in Oliver Hayes' eyes, and my anger instantly boiled over. I didn't believe for a second Oliver Hayes didn't know my birthday or couldn't guess the crucifix pendant was mine. If that was the case, then Oliver Hayes playing gold digger and tricking Eleanor Vance away the other day was actually a deliberate provocation aimed at me. Fueled by rage, strength surged through me. I reached out, shoved Oliver Hayes aside, grabbed a folder from the desk, and threw it hard at Eleanor Vance. The crucifix pendant my mom got for me. Why did you have to give it to someone else? The folder hit Eleanor Vance in the face, leaving a scratch. She nonchalantly wiped away the blood with her hand, looked at me, and said with a smile, "Sorry, I forgot the crucifix pendant was yours. I thought it was just some useless trinket, so when Ryan wanted it, I gave it to him." I trembled all over, staring hard at Eleanor Vance. Eleanor Vance kept looking at me with that smile, which even seemed to grow wider. I lunged at her, hitting her like a madman. Eleanor Vance didn't react, just watched me with a detached expression. Oliver Hayes snapped back to reality, pushed me away forcefully, and yelled angrily, "It's just a stupid crucifix pendant. Why are you hitting people, Ethan Thompson? Are you crazy?" He yanked the crucifix pendant off his wrist and threw it straight onto the floor. He yelled at me, "You think I actually wanted your junk? It's not like it's anything special. I wouldn't normally even look twice at something like that. Grab your stuff and get out. Stop bothering Ms. Vance. This is an office, not a place for you to throw a tantrum." Oliver Hayes kept shouting, but I couldn't hear a word. I stared blankly at the scattered pieces of the crucifix pendant at my feet. The crucifix pendant had shattered when it hit the floor, beads scattering everywhere. The bead engraved with my birth date was broken into pieces, damaged so badly the inscription was illegible. My head was ringing, and tears fell unconsciously. The crucifix pendant meant to protect me was broken, just like my life was about to end. My eyes filled with hatred as I looked at Oliver Hayes' face, raising my hand to slap him, but the slap never landed. Eleanor Vance caught my hand midair. She stared at me coldly, her voice laced with warning. "Ethan Thompson, that's enough. Stop this nonsense." "Nonsense? You call this nonsense?" I looked at Eleanor Vance in disbelief, finally lowering my gaze in disappointment. She once said she would cherish the crucifix pendant, that she would protect me, but now she'd casually given it away, completely indifferent that the thing meant to keep me safe was destroyed. I'd already realized Eleanor Vance didn't care about me anymore. Why did it still hurt? An itch started in my nose, and the familiar liquid trickled down, staining my clothes red. My nose was bleeding again. This time felt worse than before, so bad I didn't even want to wipe it away. Eleanor Vance rushed to hold me, asking frantically, "What's wrong? Why is your nose bleeding again?" I smiled purely, my voice soft. "I told you I'm dying." Eleanor Vance grabbed tissues to wipe away the blood. She didn't believe me, retorting, "Ethan Thompson, what nonsense are you talking about? You were perfectly fine just a while ago. How could you be dying? You're saying you're dying because you want to see me get flustered over you, right? Fine, you succeeded. I do still care about you." As Eleanor Vance watched my face grow paler and the nosebleed refused to stop, her expression turned grim, her eyes filling with panic. Her voice trembled. I admitted it. "Ethan Thompson, stop pretending. Stop bleeding, please stop." I was completely drained of strength, unable even to stand, and collapsed to the floor. Eleanor Vance's words seemed almost funny, as if I had the power to control a nosebleed like this. Belatedly, Eleanor Vance realized my situation wasn't as optimistic as she'd thought. She turned and yelled at Oliver Hayes. "Ambulance! Call an ambulance quickly!" Urged on by Eleanor Vance. Oliver Hayes fumbled to make the call. Eleanor Vance kept trying to wipe my nose, but she ran out of tissues, and the blood kept flowing, more and more, staining her clothes. Losing blood, my consciousness started to fade. Just before passing out, I saw Eleanor Vance's face, lost and helpless like a child's, hot tears falling one by one. She kept murmuring, "Why? Why is this happening? Why won't the blood wipe away? Why won't it stop? Ethan Thompson, get better. Please don't scare me like this. I'm scared." When I regained consciousness, I smelled the sharp scent of disinfectant. I figured I must be in City General Hospital. A doctor was saying he's lost the will to live himself, and the stress aggravated his symptoms. If he managed it with medication, he could have lived until next spring at least. But he said he had no money and wouldn't buy the meds. His condition is uncontrollable now. Even medication won't help at this point. There's no need for further treatment. Eleanor Vance's voice cut in. Liar. How can my husband be dying? He was perfectly fine just a few days ago. How could he suddenly have a terminal illness? Her voice shot up, sharp and piercing as she confronted the doctor. I don't care what you have to do. You have to find a way to treat my husband. If you can't, you're fired. Get out of here right now. Eleanor Vance sought out countless top doctors across the country, telling them she'd pay any price if they could just cure her husband. In just a few short days, she turned the medical community upside down, but money can't cure every illness, and mine was a terminal condition doctors hadn't found a treatment for in years. Eleanor Vance refused to believe it, simply tuning out anything the doctors said. She was convinced there had to be a cure for her husband somewhere in the world. If they couldn't cure him here, she decided she would take me abroad. She had fired several doctors in the preceding days, so now no one dared to stop her frantic efforts. Until my childhood friend showed up. Jessica Wilson slapped Eleanor Vance across the face, forcing her to pause. Ms. Vance, you have money, sure, but where were you before? Now you decide you want to save him? It's too late. Ethan can't hold on anymore. Eleanor Vance turned her head away from the sting of the slap. After a moment of silence, her voice choked with tears. How can he not hold on? Let me take him abroad, please. We can definitely find a cure for my husband. He can definitely survive. Jessica Wilson, I'm begging you. Please just give Ethan to me. Jessica Wilson scoffed. Impossible. I'll stand right here and stop you. There's no way I'm letting you take him away. And Ethan doesn't want to leave either. He called me. Jessica continued. He said if he ever got so sick he was just stuck lying in bed, not to bother dragging him through the Mayo Clinic again. He wanted to go quickly. He didn't want to live in pain. Jessica Wilson knew how terrified I was of pain, so even though her heart ached hearing those words, she could only agree through her tears. After Jessica played the recording of my call with her, Eleanor Vance swayed, so pale she could barely stand. How? How could this happen? How could my husband die? If he dies, what will I do? How could he leave me all alone in this world? Jessica Wilson watched her, expressionless, and said coolly, How are you alone? You still have all those gold diggers hanging around. Does Ethan leaving really affect you? Stop acting like you're so devoted to Ethan. It just makes people sick. It doesn't make you look devoted. Someone sat down beside my bed in the VIP ward and took my hand. Jessica Wilson's voice followed. Ethan, do you really not want to live? Don't you want to wake up? You haven't said goodbye to me yet. You haven't said goodbye to Aunt Thompson. I knew I might die suddenly from this terminal illness, so I had decided to say a proper goodbye to the world before I left. But I hadn't said goodbye yet. I couldn't die, at least not now. Tears slipped from the corners of my eyes. Beside me, the life monitor started beeping insistently. Doctors rushed in immediately, exclaiming it was a miracle that I was showing signs of waking up. They quickly told Jessica Wilson to keep talking to me. Jessica Wilson agreed excitedly. She sat by my side in the VIP ward continuously after that, holding my hand and talking until her voice grew hoarse. She recounted funny stories from our past, sometimes loud and animated, sometimes quiet and downcast, her emotions swinging wildly. Hearing Jessica Wilson's efforts to wake me, I didn't want to disappoint her. I stopped giving in, started fighting against my body, trying to pull myself out of the hazy fog in my mind. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her not to be sad. Thankfully, I finally woke up. For the week after I woke up, Jessica Wilson stayed by my side constantly, taking care of me. If it weren't improper, she probably would have insisted on watching over me even when I used the bathroom. I found myself hoping I could get better soon, just so Jessica Wilson wouldn't be so tense. Her anxiety was becoming extreme. A few times, when I was lightly asleep, I clearly felt her place her hand under my nose to check if I was still breathing. It was lunchtime, and Jessica Wilson had to go get our food, but even then, she couldn't help looking back several times before leaving the room. Suddenly, I needed to use the restroom. Jessica Wilson usually helped me to the door, but since she wasn't there, I wanted to try getting there on my own. My body swayed precariously, but I managed to shuffle my way to the restroom. Thankfully, everything went smoothly. Inside, I breathed a sigh of relief, but I celebrated too soon. Just as I stood up and took a single step, everything suddenly went dark. I lost consciousness for a few seconds, lost control of my body, and fell straight to the floor. Sharp pain shot through my face, and my nose started bleeding again. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I struggled to get up. As I pushed myself up, my eyes fell on the mirror. The reflection showed my face completely covered in blood, my features blurred and almost unrecognizable. It was terrifying. I was so shocked I couldn't even cry out. I just stared, wide-eyed, at the horrifying image in the mirror. Just then, Eleanor Vance rushed into the restroom. She immediately grabbed me, turning me away from the mirror, then wrapped her arms around me, her touch full of pain and concern. It's okay, don't be scared. You're all right. She held me back to the bed and sat me down. Her eyes were red-rimmed as she gently wiped my face with a damp towel, her expression anguished. Seeing the glaring red blood soaking the towel, tears streamed down her face, and her body trembled uncontrollably. I was only gone for a quick meeting, she said, her voice shaking. How did you fall? Then her tone sharpened. And where did that Jessica Wilson go? Why wasn't she here taking care of you? Doesn't she know how weak you are? I frowned, looking at Eleanor Vance coldly. Jessica Wilson went to get food. Besides, I continued, my voice firm. She has her own life, her parents, friends, job. They're all abroad. Unlike me, who has nothing all day and is just a burden on her. With this illness, she's under no obligation to take care of me. I held her gaze. If you say one more bad thing about her in front of me, then you can leave right now. I don't want to see you. Afraid I would actually kick her out, Eleanor Vance opened her mouth as if to say something more, but ultimately swallowed her words. When she saw that the bleeding had stopped, her tense expression finally relaxed slightly. She wiped away her tears, composed herself, and then demanded, Ethan, don't you have a mouth? Why didn't you tell me you were sick? No, wait, you do have a mouth. You told Jessica Wilson you were sick. Why would you tell her instead of me? Do you really think she's more important than I am? Don't forget, I'm your legal wife. We're supposed to be the closest people to each other. My expression didn't change as I calmly watched the furious Eleanor Vance. So what if the law says so? I just didn't want to tell you. I don't need your concern, and I don't need you taking care of me during the last moments of my life. So whether you knew I was sick or not is irrelevant, because I don't care. That's what I said, but I knew perfectly well I hadn't deliberately hidden it from Eleanor Vance. After all, my medical chart had been sitting right there on the table at home, but she'd never seen it. Because while I was sick, getting weaker day by day, curled up on the floor writhing in pain, biting my lip until it bled, feeling like I could die any second, she was off having fun with Oliver Hayes. Oliver Hayes was younger and better looking than me, with a personality she found more appealing. She was happy living with Oliver Hayes, never even thinking about coming home. The one time she did come back for my birthday gala, she was too preoccupied with being angry to notice the medical chart. Thinking of this, my gaze towards her turned even colder, cutting straight to her heart that I said, Eleanor Vance, I don't need you at all. Tears streamed down Eleanor Vance's face, one after another, her eyes red. She looked at me and accused, Ethan, you're so heartless, just like back then. You decided you didn't want me anymore and left without even saying a word. Suddenly, Eleanor Vance came closer and threw her arms around me. Her voice, thick with tears, was full of attachment. Ethan, you don't want me, but I want you. I can't lose you. For a moment, my mind drifted. Eleanor Vance still didn't know why I had disappeared so suddenly all those years ago. After my mother died, my mental state was terrible. I'd often wake up startled in the middle of the night. I kept dreaming that Eleanor Vance and I had a child, but tragically, I developed a terminal illness, and the child inherited it too. Eleanor Vance bankrupted herself trying to save us, but even so, the child and I still died. Unable to handle the shock, Eleanor Vance killed herself by slitting her wrists. I didn't want Eleanor Vance to die. I didn't want the future to be as tragic as my dreams. She was a good, ambitious girl with a bright future ahead of her. She deserved a healthy family and a happy life. More than once, I hated that I couldn't spend my whole life with her. I felt jealous, thinking about the other men who would eventually be by her side. But I also knew I couldn't drag her down. I shouldn't drag her down. So back then, I left without a second thought. It was only 2 months after leaving that my mood gradually improved, and I realized leaving so abruptly without a word was wrong. So I went back. I planned to explain everything clearly to Eleanor Vance. Tell her why I'd left so suddenly. Tell her about my hereditary illness, that I might die unexpectedly in the future. All the way back to the place Eleanor Vance and I had lived, I kept picturing the moment I'd see her and tell her these things. But I never expected that before I even reached our home, I would see her from a distance, holding someone and kissing them. I refused to believe it was her. I told myself it was probably just someone who looked like Eleanor Vance, maybe even resembled her quite a bit. If I got closer, just a little closer, I could surely spot the differences in their features. My legs felt like lead as I walked. Step by heavy step, I got close enough to see how intensely the woman and man were kissing, close enough to see features identical to Eleanor Vance's. Even then, I instinctively tried to make excuses for her. Maybe Eleanor Vance had a sister? Identical twins look alike, right? I tried to console myself with that thought, but when I saw her expertly unlock the door to our home and lead the man inside, the conviction in my heart completely crumbled. I don't know how I left that day. All I know is that when I became aware again, I was already back in a small mountain village in that remote city. The image of Eleanor Vance kissing someone else playing over and over in my mind. I lay in bed for 2 days and 2 nights, slowly processing it. No, processing isn't the right word. It's more accurate to say I successfully hypnotized myself. I kept telling myself, this is the best possible outcome. Eleanor Vance wasn't heartbroken because I left. She'd even found another man she liked. She would be happy in the future. She would definitely be happy. Everything was going the way I'd envisioned. But my heart ached terribly. I was completely listless for those few years, often crying unconsciously in my sleep. I learned from financial news that Eleanor Vance had founded the Vance Group, turning it into a major company in just a few years. I also knew she had remained single all these years, though she was never short of male companions. I knew many, many things, but none of it concerned me anymore, because she was too wealthy, so wealthy that I felt we lived in different worlds. But as time passed, I stopped paying attention to Eleanor Vance. I slowly moved on from my feelings and started living an ordinary, simple life, going to work, exploring my interest in food, seeing the sights of the world. Just when I thought things could continue like this, that I could quietly wait for death to arrive, Eleanor Vance suddenly reappeared. She arranged for bodyguards to take me away, forcefully dragging me off to marry her. At the same time, she continued her relationships with her lovers, even flaunting them in front of me. I asked her why she was doing this. She leaned against me, smiled, and said, "I just want revenge. Did you really think I'd still love you after all these years? I have plenty of gold diggers, you know. You'd better behave, or I might get angry." I took a deep breath, trying hard to stay calm. "I don't want to marry you. There was a reason I left suddenly back then. My mom. I wanted to tell her the reason I hadn't explained years ago, but I had barely started before she slapped me across the face. Don't you dare mention your mother to me. You're both the same, obsessed with money. Neither of you is any good. Ethan, let me tell you, when I say we're getting married, I'm not discussing it with you. I'm informing you. It doesn't matter if you don't want to." Eleanor Vance was incredibly stubborn, so stubborn she refused to listen to a single word of explanation. She said, "Are you really that unwilling to marry me? But if you're not willing, that just makes me want you on the same marriage certificate even more. You hurt me so badly back then, so now I have to hurt you even more. That's only fair, isn't it?" I stared hard at Eleanor Vance, suddenly feeling like she was a stranger. She wasn't the Eleanor Vance I knew anymore. I'd rather die than marry Eleanor Vance. I never imagined she could become so despicable. "I remember you used to have a childhood friend named Jessica Wilson, right?" I tensed instantly. "Were you planning?" Eleanor Vance kissed my lips, almost indulgently. "Look how tense you are. What could I possibly do?" She paused. "Except, with the power and money I have now, one little order in her family's small business might not make it. Could you really stand by and watch her family go bankrupt?" I was shaking with anger. Jessica Wilson's family had struggled with poverty for a long time. They'd finally managed to start a company, and things were just starting to look up. I couldn't let all their hard work be ruined because of me. Besides, I didn't have long to live anyway. It didn't matter how I spent the rest of my days. So I married Eleanor Vance. I just never expected her revenge would last such a short time. Only 3 months later, I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The marks on my face were obvious. There was no hiding them from Jessica Wilson. When she found out I hadn't waited for her and had acted on my own, She was furious and gave me the cold shoulder for days. If my mom were here, you wouldn't treat me like this. I felt hurt. I miss my mom. Can you take me to see her? Jessica Wilson went quiet for a moment before replying. Of course. As soon as you're better, I'll take you to see Aunt Thompson. I knew my body. It was wrecked. How could I possibly recover? But I wanted to see my mom, and I didn't want Jessica to worry, so I agreed. Okay. Every day after that, I tried to stay optimistic. I followed the doctor's treatments, swallowing handfuls of pills, getting all sorts of injections. The backs of my hands were constantly bruised, purple and blue, but I never complained about the pain. Seeing this, though, Jessica's eyes would turn red. Ethan, don't just push through it, she'd say. If it hurts, tell me. I'd shake my head, my face pale. It's okay, it doesn't hurt. Don't worry, I'll do my best to get better. All my efforts seemed to be paying off. My body actually started to get slightly better. Not like a healthy person, of course, but before I needed help just to walk, and now I could manage on my own. I looked at Jessica Wilson hopefully. Can you take me to see my mom now? Yes. Jessica turned her head, trying to hide the tears in her eyes, but she couldn't hide the catch in her voice that instantly betrayed her. The scattered beads from the crucifix pendant were still at Vance's group, but I didn't want to retrieve them anymore. There was no point. I thought it over these past few days. That necklace felt like my destiny. Given my terminal diagnosis, it seemed almost fated to break. Nothing to make a fuss about. Just when we were ready to leave, though, Eleanor Vance showed up to stop me. You're too weak right now. You're not going anywhere. Stay here at City General Hospital and rest. I insisted, I want to go. No. Eleanor refused flatly. Then she immediately called her bodyguards and told them to stand guard at my door and not let me leave. Jessica got furious and started arguing with Eleanor. Ethan just wants to see his mom. Why won't you let him go? What harm could one visit possibly do? Are you hoping all this stress will kill him faster so you can marry that gold digger you've been seeing without any guilt? Eleanor Vance glared coldly at Jessica. My husband isn't going to die. He'll live a long life. As for visiting his aunt, there'll be plenty of time for that later. Besides, Ethan's the one in the hospital. Why isn't she coming to City General Hospital to see him? Jessica looked at me, surprised. My mom is already. Before I could finish, Eleanor suddenly clutched her stomach, her face pale. My stomach, she gasped weakly. It hurts so much. The bodyguards outside immediately helped her go find a doctor. I stared blankly in the direction Eleanor had gone. Jessica sighed. Don't worry about her. Eleanor's always got so much energy. She'll be fine. I thought so too. Yeah. Jessica looked at me. Why haven't you told her why you left all those years ago? I shrugged helplessly. It's like just now. Every time I try, something interrupts us. I assumed the bodyguards would leave now that Eleanor was gone, but they remained stationed at the door. Sorry, Mr. Thompson, one said. Ms. Vance's orders were only to prevent Mr. Thompson from leaving. A smug smile spread across Oliver Hayes's face. Then he saw Eleanor Vance and quickly composed himself, putting on a pitiful expression. Ms. Vance, I just wanted to see Ethan, but they didn't welcome me. They just pushed me to the ground. Eleanor Vance's dark eyes fixed on me. Jessica Wilson stepped in front of me. I pushed him, so what if I did? He deserved it. If it weren't for him. Oliver Hayes suddenly cried out. Ms. Vance, my ankle hurts so much. I think I twisted it when they pushed me down. Could you take me to see a doctor? Eleanor Vance stared at Oliver Hayes, but didn't agree immediately. Instead, she instructed the bodyguards outside. You take him. Oliver Hayes's eyes widened in disbelief. They pushed me down so suddenly. I must be seriously hurt. Ms. Vance, you have no idea how much force they used. Enough. I couldn't listen anymore. You say we pushed you, but why don't you mention how you almost dragged me off the bed first? And are you sure you came here to show concern for me? Oliver Hayes stammered. Where did I drag you? I clearly came to see how you were, and before I could even say much, you pushed me without any reason. I nodded. Since you're so sure, let's check the security footage and see if it matches your story. Security footage? Jessica Wilson came over with a laptop. Yes. Isn't surveillance standard in a VIP ward? Weren't you aware, Mr. Hayes? Oliver Hayes's face went pale. Of course, he didn't know. If he had, he wouldn't have been so brazen with the cameras rolling. Ms. Vance, my foot really hurts. Let's just go. Eleanor Vance didn't budge, her gaze fixed on a laptop screen as the footage played. Her face, turned livid. She raised her hand and slapped Oliver Hayes hard across the face. Who gave you the nerve to frame my husband, Oliver Hayes? You're nothing but a plaything I use when I'm bored. Did you actually start thinking you were important? And when did I ever tell you the baby I'm carrying is yours? Oliver Hayes stared blankly at Eleanor Vance. But Eleanor Vance turned to me. Husband, she said, I always use protection when I'm with other men. The baby I'm carrying, it's actually yours. I remember that night. It was 2 nights before I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I was upset about being forced to marry Eleanor Vance, so I couldn't help but have a few drinks. I never expected Eleanor Vance to come back suddenly for some files. After getting the files, she didn't leave. While I was dizzy and couldn't tell reality from dream, she forced herself on me. I looked at Eleanor Vance with complicated feelings. I couldn't believe that just at one time, she'd gotten pregnant. We can't keep this baby. The smile froze on Eleanor Vance's face. Husband, what do you mean? This is our child. Why can't we keep it? Are you worried about your health? Don't be afraid. I've already got people looking for the best doctors. We'll definitely cure you. My gaze was heavy as I stared at Eleanor Vance. After a long pause, I said, my illness is hereditary. What did you say? Eleanor Vance tilted her head, looking at me blankly. You've always hated me for leaving so suddenly back then, right? Don't you want to know why I left? It's because my mother died from this illness. I was afraid the same would happen to me and to any future child. That's why I didn't want to burden you. Eleanor Vance shook her head repeatedly. No, how could that be? How could Ethan's mother be dead? How could it be hereditary? This is completely different from what I thought, completely different. Her eyes looked dazed as she stumbled out of the VIP ward. Oliver Hayes scrambled up from the floor and chased after Eleanor Vance. The noisy VIP ward suddenly fell silent and empty. Jessica Wilson looked at me, her eyes full of sympathy. Ethan, but I felt a surge of energy through my whole body. Let's go. Go where? Besides, Eleanor Vance had people blocking you from leaving. I chuckled softly. They left with Eleanor Vance. There were no longer any bodyguards at the VIP ward in trance. I wanted to visit my mother, but before going, I needed to buy some of her favorite snacks to bring. While I was buying the food, Jessica Wilson bought a lot for me too. Hurry and try some. These are delicious. I hesitated. After all, Jessica Wilson hated it when people ate in her car. It was like Jessica Wilson could read my mind. I'm giving you special permission. You're allowed to eat in my car from now on, always. As she spoke, her eyes reddened. A shadow passed through my eyes, but a smile quickly returned to my lips. I'll remember you said that. If you don't want me next time, I'll be angry, okay? Jessica Wilson bought me lots of snacks. I ate until I was stuffed, but thinking I might never get the chance to eat them again, I couldn't bring myself to stop. But why did the cotton candy taste salty? Shouldn't it be sweet? Oh right, I started crying without realizing it. Tears are salty. I didn't stop eating until we reached Memorial Park. I looked at the loving photo of my mother smiling and gradually zoned out. Mom, this might be the last time I come see you here. Don't say I'm unfilial. I won't be coming back because I'll be joining you soon. I wonder if you can still cook where you are. I miss your cooking so much all these years. I leaned against my mother's gravestone, murmuring on and on. Jessica Wilson stood nearby, keeping me company, but her tears never stopped flowing. I smiled and teased her. You still cry as much as you did when we were kids. Jessica Wilson didn't argue. She fumbled in her bag and pulled out a tissue for me. My nose was bleeding again. This might really be it for me. Don't be sad. I'm just going on ahead. The money you've given me over the years, plus what I've earned from work, it's all tied to the Amex Platinum card. I've set up a living trust, and everything goes to you. I also signed up to be an organ donor. I hope I can help someone else who needs it. Goodbye, Jessica Wilson. I slowly closed my eyes. Goodbye, beautiful world. I could hear Jessica Wilson sobbing uncontrollably. I wanted to tell her not to cry, but I lost consciousness, unable to comfort her. Jessica Wilson inherited the money, but didn't use it. Instead, she donated double the amount from her own account. She hoped this act of charity would bring Ethan good fortune, praying he wouldn't suffer in the next life as he had in this one. Eleanor Vance hadn't expected that running off for 2 days to cool down, unable to face the truth, would lead to this. She realized how foolish she'd been all these years. She wanted to beg for Ethan's forgiveness, only to return and find out he was dead. Because of the donor agreement he'd signed, his body had already been taken by City General Hospital. She didn't even get to see him one last time. Ethan was so cruel, not even leaving her ashes. Eleanor Vance spent the following days in a daze. She couldn't distinguish dreams from reality, often believing Ethan was still alive. One day at a birthday gala with friends, she viciously attacked a woman who was cheating on her husband. As she hit her, she screamed, "You have a husband, yet you're still fooling around. You're scum. You have no morals." Her friends at the party rushed to restrain her. "Eleanor Vance, what the hell is wrong with you? You used to be just like us, always switching guys. You used to compete with us to see who could swap partners faster. Now you're calling us scum. What does that make you?" Eleanor Vance broke down, shaking her head frantically. "I love my husband more than anything. I would never cheat. You're lying. You're trying to trick me. Love him most. Your kind of love is a joke." They showed her photos from their iPhones, pictures of her kissing various men. Eleanor Vance froze, then fled in panic. She was convinced they were lying, that the photos were photoshopped. But after consulting 3 or 4 professional agencies, the results were unanimous. They weren't altered. The photos were real. How would she explain this? Would her husband be angry about what she'd done? He'd definitely be angry, wouldn't he? Ethan might even leave her, hating her past self. She broke things off with all her lovers, but she never imagined Oliver Hayes, who seemed so docile on the surface, could be so terrifying underneath. He tried to run her down with his car. "Why? Why did you push me away? I love you so much, more than anyone. Why won't you even look at me? If you won't be with me, then let's die together." Eleanor Vance didn't want to die yet. She was carrying Ethan's child, her only remaining connection to him. She couldn't let it be severed. She dodged with all her strength, instinctively shielding her stomach with both hands. But the child couldn't be saved. She had a miscarriage. Oliver Hayes was charged with attempted murder and sent to prison thanks to Eleanor Vance. But even that wasn't enough for her. During a lull in his sentencing at the Manhattan Supreme Court, she lunged forward and stabbed him. "Go to hell. Atonement for my child's death." Chaos erupted in the courtroom. Eleanor Vance should have been sentenced too, but she was diagnosed with a mental illness, declared mentally incompetent due to the successive traumas. Ultimately, she was committed to Silver Pine Sanatorium. Her daily behavior seemed normal. She kept her living space meticulously organized, except she would smile foolishly at empty space and talk to a crucifix pendant, clearly broken and pieced back together, like right now. "Honey, it's your birthday today. I'm going to make you a red velvet cake and give you a beautiful peony bouquet. Honey, your smile is so sweet and soft, just like cotton candy. But why does this cotton candy taste salty? It's not good at all. Eleanor loves her honey the most. But why are you fading away? Please come back and see me, okay?" A long time passed until her tears ran dry. Slowly, agonizingly, she began to understand. She had broken Ethan's heart completely. He didn't love her anymore. He never wanted to see her again.